Hello everybody, and welcome to this week's Easy 11 Plus live lesson on fractions. I saw someone asking in the comments before whether I'm going to cough. Probably at some point, but I'm feeling an awful lot better. So thank you very much, and thank you also from the yellow panda who's been accompanying me through my COVID infection. The yellow panda, it's a grey and white panda. I'm talking complete nonsense already, so you should immediately start ignoring everything I say in this lesson and probably go for your 11 plus maths advice to somebody else who isn't talking complete rubbish into a camera at 6 o'clock. On a Tuesday evening. Don't forget, these lessons are every Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock, so if you want your weekly dose of complete rubbish, then this is where you should come. And don't forget that on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, I release my short videos. HP Pencil is the first comment coming through into my streaming software and says, my test is tomorrow. Crumbs! Well, good luck for your test tomorrow. That can't be an 11 plus test, not at the end of March. You must be doing something else, but whatever it is, the very best of luck for it. Hello to Thoroughly, hello to Strawberry Clouds. Whoa, hi, and how? Well, you could have a shout out if I had a hope in hell of pronouncing your name. XX Lolly Mabad YouTuber. There we are, that's shout out. Rama says, nice shirt, Rob. Yes, it's true, I am not wearing a coloured t-shirt for the first time in just about ever. I do not know why, I'm just not. I just grabbed this t-shirt and I never changed it. Never changed it today, I'm not that smelly. I do change my t-shirts at least once a week. What am I doing going on like this? I should be starting the lesson. We've got a load of maths to do. So let's get going with that. Erkin Lava says, hi, in this lesson, don't mess stuff up. You have such faith in me. I really appreciate the confidence that you have. Right, okay, let's get cracking. So you've all done this worksheet. If you haven't done the worksheet and you want to have a go after the lesson, it's linked in the video description. So just click on the link there and you can download the worksheet, print it off, pin it to your wall, throw things at it, whatever you want. In this lesson, we're just going to be going through some common kinds of fraction-based exam questions. Work out 27.5 divided by 11. I'm going to assume for each of these that you start off going, oh, I can't remember how to do it. I'm going to talk about how you can remember how to do it. Let's start by writing this out again. Maybe some ideas will come to us. 27.5 divided by 11. So the first thing I think about here, if I'm going to be timesing or dividing fractions, I do not want mixed numbers. I don't want 27 and a half. I just want one fraction to deal with. So how can I do that? Well, I want everything to be in halves, right? So what's 27? 27 is how many halves? Well, 27 must be, what does this line here mean? Yes, it means out of 2. It also means divided by 2. So what divided by 2 gives 27. Of course, it's 54. So 27 is 54 halves. What's 54 halves and a half? Of course, it's 55 halves. So 27.5 divided by 11 is actually 55 over 2 divided by 11. Now, the next thing, this is the important one. How do I divide fractions? Well done to Brinda in the comments who got 54 and Evelina. Fantastic. Subomi says, I can't see, it's blurry. That is almost certainly not me. Shambavi says, is this live? Of course this is live. Subomi saying, I can't see, it's blurry. That will be your internet connection or computer, but there is a hack to sort it out. Go down to the bottom corner down there of your YouTube screen, and there's a little cog item, a little wheel with points. Click on that and go to quality and set quality as high as your internet connection will allow. And then I should stop being blurry. Magic. Okay, we have to do divided by 11. Let's say you've forgotten how to divide fractions. This is how you remember. It's dead simple. So let's say you had to times something by a half. And it's easy to remember that timesing by a half, so for example, a half of 6, is just the same as dividing by 2. A half of 6 is the same as 6 divided by 2, and divided by 2 is the same as divided by 2 over 1. Why? Because any number over 1 is itself. You know that. So 3 over 1 is 3. 150 over 1 is 150. 1 squillion jillion billion divided by 1 is 1 squillion jillion billion. Anything divided by 1 is itself. Okay? Times a half is the same as divided by 2 over 1. So how do I get from a times to a divide and vice versa? Easy. I flip it over and change the sign. How do I change divided by 11, which is divided by 11 over 1, into a multiplication? I change the sign and flip it over. So 11 over 1, which is 11, becomes 1 over 11. Okay? You knew that. It was just me who had to remind myself, right? I bet there's somebody watching who'd forgotten how to divide fractions. Really common mistake. Do not touch this fraction here. Do not turn this over. Don't you dare, or your answer will be completely wrong. Okay? Only flip over the second fraction and change the divide into a times. So divisions are just hidden multiplications. That's true of anything, not just fractions. Right, how do we do this? Another magic thing with fractions, something that you can only do when multiplying. Only when multiplying, not under any other circumstances. Not when it's a divide sign, not when it's a plus, not when it's a minus. You can, anyone in the comments is going to tell me, not quick enough, you can cancel diagonally. You know about cancelling fractions. For example, 54 over 2 cancels to 27 over 1. When you're multiplying, you can cancel diagonally. This is so exciting, it's giving me an itchy tip of my nose. Okay? I have to reach a very long way to get to the tip of my nose because it's quite a fine nose. Anyway, we've got 55 and 11. They are both in the 11 times table. Okay? So that means they can cancel. How many 11s in 11? Oh, of course, 1. How many 11s in 55? 5. Ramakrishna says, keep the first one, flip the second one. KFC, keep the first, flip the second. But where's the second in C? Oh, change the order, then multiply them. I don't quite understand your mnemonic, KFC, but it's great to have one. But definitely keep the first. Strawberry Cloud says, but it was our wedding day. Aren't you a little bit young for that? Anyway, that's not a reason why. 5 times 1 is 5 and 2 times 1 is 2. I'm wasting so much time waffling on in the comments. I think I should get on with it. Okay. I think there might be a song going on. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. Okay, yeah. Right, so the answer is 5 over 2. We can't cancel that any further. You could also write that as a mixed number. 5 over 2 is 2 over 2 and 2 over 2 and 1 over 2, otherwise known as 1 and 1 and a half, otherwise known as 2 and a half. Okay, I think it's simpler just to leave it as 5 over 2. It's also more useful because you could do more maths with 5 over 2 more easily than you could with 2 and a half. But 2 and a half would also be correct. I like this answer here. Onwards to the next. What is 0.15 as a fraction in its lowest terms? Now, in its lowest terms means you need to cancel your answer down, but you always need to do this, okay? Have I emphasized that enough? You always need to do this. Your answers, when they're fractions, should always be in their lowest terms unless there is a clear reason why not, or you will tend to lose a mark or half a mark or something, okay? Simplify your answers whether or not you're asked to like this. What is 0.15 as a fraction? Now remember, we have already covered the key point here, which is that, wow, there's some people already writing the answer in the comments, some people writing the wrong answer in the comments, but more writing the correct one. Any fraction, any number is itself over 1, okay? Always remember that. It is so fundamental. So the first step in turning this into a fraction is to write it as itself over 1. Well, now we've got a fraction, but it isn't a fraction in its lowest terms, because in its lowest terms, or just a good answer as a fraction that you could give as an answer that's acceptable in an exam, let's stick to that, is always going to have a whole number on the top and a whole number on the bottom, and we've got a decimal here, okay? That's a bit of a workout for my mouth. I think I need to have some coffee and recover. Ah, thank you. Yellow panda that isn't yellow. 0.15 over 1. Right, how do we turn these into whole numbers? Well, hang on a sec. This is a decimal. How do you turn a decimal into a whole number? Well, decimal, the clue is in the word decimal. Dec, you know your Latin, of course. 10. Okay? So we deal with it by multiplying by multiples of 10. Multiply by 10. And we get 1.5 over, we must multiply the bottom as well, 10. We still got a decimal, 15 over 1, 0, 0. Okay, we just keep moving the decimal point along. On the top, we see the decimal point moving. On the bottom, because we're already in whole numbers, that means adding zeros. Okay? Simple. 15 over 100. Is that our answer? No, because it is not simplified to its lowest terms. Okay, and that means we have to say what number divides into both of these, 15 and 100. Well, 15, we can see that into 15 go 3 and 5, because 3 times 5 is 15, okay? But 3 into 100 does not neatly go, because 100 doesn't divide by 3 to give a whole number, okay? It would give 33.333333, and I'd be saying that for a very long time, forever. 5 into 100 does go, however. 100 does divide by 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 100 divided by 5 is 20. Our answer is 3 over 20. Is it, or can we simplify further? No, we can't. Someone was asking at the beginning whether I was going to cough. No, but with an exciting plot twist, I might be about to sneeze. Now it's going away. Oh, I hate that. Don't you hate that? When you really need to, when you've got a sneeze coming and you're just ready to break free. I want to break free. And then the sneeze goes away. And it's like it's sitting there waiting to... Oh, so annoying. Anyway, there we are. That's the tragedy of my day, that I want to sneeze and can't. I hope I have your sympathy. He told me all my hair would disappear. Now look at my head. He'd be talking about me, but I've still got a bit of hair left. He said, shut up now, says Helmina. No, I didn't. I don't know what you're all on about. There's some kind of strange parallel non-maths conversation going. It's fine, but I don't really know what's happening. Erkin Lava, dear Robert, please do not mess stuff up today. I have faith in you, or else you will suffer and die. This is the joy of live YouTubing, that people write terrifying nonsense like that. I hope it's nonsense. Right, anyway, that's the answer. You can't simplify that any further. Let's move on. Let's move on, people. And Erkin Lava, please, just, even if I mess up, please may I not die. Not today. I've just come through COVID. I'm still alive. Yeah. Goodness me. Dramatic. Subomi Agbuli, your fate is sealed when your prophecy is read. It's all very doom and gloom in the comments, or at least very portentous. 8 over 11 minus a half. Oh, look, it's more just dealing with fractions. Let's keep moving through. You know how to do this. They've got to be over the same thing, right? We can't take away halves from 11ths. They are different things. It's like taking away apples from oranges. Goodness me, I'm imaginative with my analogies. We have to take away apples from apples. We need to turn them both into apples. What can we turn both of these into? So what do 11 and 2 both go into? So, of course, you could pick something extraordinary like 220, but you don't want to do that. What's the smallest number you can come up with that they both go into? Of course, it's 22. That happens to be 11 times 2. That isn't always the case, but here the lowest common multiple is 22. So we want both of these to be fractions over 22. Dum bum bum. 8 over 11 is what over 22? Well, to get from 11 to 22, we times by 2. Didn't we? We need to do the same to the top if we're going to keep this fraction with the same overall value. Okay. So doing the same to the top means timesing the top by 2. 8 times by 2 is 16. If that wasn't clear, I apologise, but I'm sure you know all this stuff. It's pretty basic fraction stuff. If it isn't clear to you, however, do not despair. It just means you haven't covered it so much yet. Maybe you're quite early in your 11 plus preparation. Maybe you kind of should know this, but you've been revising other things and it's slipped a bit. That's fine. How do you solve it? It's simple. Go into the Easy 11 Plus YouTube channel. You know where that is. Go to the maths playlists and find all the stuff about fractions that's there, because there are loads of lessons to do with fractions and worksheets for everyone, and you'll get it all sorted. Not just this lesson, there are lots of other fractions videos already on the channel. I've got squizillions of them out there. Right, how do we turn a half into something over 22? Well, this one I think we can just use our common sense, okay? Yes, we could say 2 to get to 22. What do we times? Divide times by 11, so you have to times 1 by 11, which is 11. But come on, a half is 11 over 22, because 11 is half of 22. You know that, okay? We got 60 20-seconds minus 11 20-seconds. So we got 16 apples, take away 11 of them. How many we got left? We got 5 of them left, okay? You do this, you get left with 5 over 22. Can you simplify that further? Of course you can't. 5 is a prime number, nothing goes into it apart from 5 and 1, and so you can't simplify this further. That's it, 5 over 22. Good. Onwards. Strawberry Clouds. Robert, it's a song from a movie, Encanto. Keep up with Disney Plus. It came up here. Keep up with Disney Plus. You should have seen it. I'm sorry, I haven't seen it. I'm not really a big TV and film person, to be honest. I see a little bit of Netflix occasionally, mainly because Mrs. Robert is a Netflix subscriber. But Disney Plus, I know nothing of, apart from that it exists. So, yeah, excuse me, I just need to dab my nose delicately. Just adjust my makeup. Right, onwards. What have we got coming up? At the school fair, 3/5 of the visitors were children. A half of the remaining visitors were men. There were 140 more children than men. How many? So many words and so much information. What do you possibly do with it? So this is the kind of question where a lot of people just get stuck because they feel they can't process the information and they go, I can't do maths, this is not for me. You just need to work out ways of putting down the information before you try to do anything with it, okay? And this is where I think that kind of, bar diagrams can be really, really useful. Just to break something out, you can use a pie chart as well, use a circle, but these bars work really well. My nose is still itchy, I need to burn my nose again. Okay, I'm delicately going to meet the microphone. There we are, relief. Okay, we have a bar here. Let's start breaking it up. We know that 3/5 of the visitors were children. We do not have to measure it out perfectly to get 3/5, just rough. 3/5, and they are children, okay? So what's left if we've done 3/5? Well, of course, it's 2/5. You don't need to do a calculation for that. You know that a whole is made up of 3/5 and 2/5, because 3 and 2 is 5, right? Okay, so 3/5 and 2/5, right. And what's left over here, a half of the remaining visitors are men. So we need to divide this into 2. We got 2/5. If we divide that into 2, each of them is going to be 1/5. Again, this is kind of made obvious by our bar without us actually needing to do any real calculation here. So these are men. So we know that 3/5 are children, 1/5 are men, and there's 1/5 left over. Probably supposed to be women, but who knows? We don't need to worry about that here. Half of the remaining visitors are men, 1/5. There are 140 more children than men. Okay. So this is where things start to get a little bit fiddly potentially. But let's think about this. That means that the number of children minus the number of men is 140, because we're saying the difference between these is 140, right? So maybe if it's still blurry, then I'm pretty sure that is your internet connection, because my internet connection is super speedy, so it shouldn't be sending you blurry video. So I think that's something at your end. As I say, there's the cog bottom right. Try changing the quality to HD or as high as you can get. If that doesn't work for you, I'm sorry, maybe rewatch it later. It should be clear in the end. But I'm very sorry that it's blurry for you. I know that's really inconvenient. Erkin Lava says, wow, for once it's not warning me away from making mistakes. Maybe I haven't made any, or maybe there have been so many mistakes that you've just been overwhelmed. Can you have a decimal inside fractions like 3.5 over 10? Well, you can certainly write a fraction like that. It's very useful when you're doing calculations. But when we talk about giving a fraction in the simplest terms as an answer, that means 2 whole numbers. Okay, cancel down as far as possible. So no, you could not give that as an answer. You could have that in your working, it would not be a wrong thing. As an answer to a question, it would be wrong because you need whole number over whole number, integer over integer. Right, so we see the number of children minus the number of men is 140. Okay, and the number of children minus the number of men is 3/5 of it all, minus 1/5 of it all. Number of children minus number of men. 3/5 minus 1/5 is, of course, 2/5. So we can see that 2/5 of the visitors is 140. Okay? And we need to find out the total number. The total number is going to be 5/5, isn't it? How many visitors? 5/5. If 2/5 is 140, then 1/5 would be half of that. Half of 140, yes, you could work it out, but you know that half of 14 is 7, so half of 140 is 70. Okay? 1/5 gives 70, so 5/5 is 70 times 5. Now, you could certainly do a multiplication like this, but hang on a sec. What is 7 times 5? You know this from your times tables. 7 times 5 is 35, so 70 times 5 is 350. So let's just recap that a second. We found if 3/5 of the visitors are children, half of the remaining visitors is 1/5. There are 140 more children than men. So the difference between 3/5 of the visitors and 1/5 of the visitors is 140. And the difference between 3/5 and 1/5 is 2/5. So now we know that 2/5 of all the visitors are 140 people. So 1/5 are 70 people. So to find out the whole number, just times that by 5. 350 is vanishing behind my beautiful head. Let's scroll down, you can see it, and we can go on to the next question. Okay, sweets. Yes, we all like a good question about sweets, don't we? What's going on in the comments? What are you opening your PDF file with? Because it looks like it's nice quality. I actually just do this in the Microsoft Edge default Windows browser because it's really good to write on my tablet, and it integrates really simply with the rest of the software that I use. There we are. Geeky technical question and answer. Ayesha has some sweets. Ayesha, I'm not sure. He gives a 6 of them to Nilesh. As we go through this, let's just take notes as we go along. So if he gives 6 of them away, then he must be left with 5/6, okay? All of them give away a 6th. You've got 5 of those 6 bits left. Nilesh immediately eats 1 of them. Now he has 4 left. Okay, so if he's got 4 left after eating 1, that means that before that, he had 5 of them. And if he had 5 of them, and that was a 6th, then all of them must have been 6 lots of 5. So all of them be 6 times 5 is 30. But we need to know how many Ayesha has after giving a 6 to Nilesh. So we don't want to know what 6 times 5. We don't want to know the whole lot. We want to know what 5 of the 6th are. So 1/6 of the sweets is 5. Okay? So 1/6 of the sweets is 5. I'm not rating a 6th equals 5 because that would be mathematical nonsense. I'm just doing a table because a 6 is not 5, a 6th is a 6th, and 5 is a 5, and 5 is a lot bigger than the 6th. But 6th of the sweets is 5 sweets. So 5/6 we've times by 5, so we need to times by 5, and we get, drumroll, 25. So this is not very formal systematic working. I haven't laid it out all nice and neatly because a lot of my working has happened just while I was reading the question and taking notes. Ayesha gave away a 6th of them, so he had 5/6 less left. Hang on, when Nilesh ate 1 of those 6th, he had 4 left. So the whole 6th must have been 5. And that means we can work out what 5/6 would be. Okay? Nice and straightforward, really. That should be a 6th, not a kind of weird one-like thing. One-like thing, that's a very mathematical term. Onwards, anyway, let's keep crashing on because it's taking a little bit longer than some lessons because there are quite a few questions in here. That's because I wanted to give a really good range of possible fractions questions so I make a little bit more space. Okay, I picked this because using fractions, it's pretty unlikely that you'll see this question, but I just want to show you how you can think through a difficult problem. Shambhavi Lokanda writes, oh God, I was wrong. Okay, let's not get carried away here. It isn't that much of a disaster. You got 1 wrong. As regular viewers will know, I do occasionally get 1 wrong during my lessons as well. Mistakes happen. Right, anyway. The ancient Egyptians generally only used unit fractions, having the number 1 as a numerator. Now, frankly, I have no idea whether this is correct or not. I haven't researched it. I should have done. Bad Robert. But let's just take it as read that the person who wrote this question, who was not me, knew what they were talking about. So, useful, an interesting factoid, that's what people say, isn't it? So a unit fraction having the number 1 as a numerator, like a 3rd or a 7th or a 25th or a half or whatever. So they might write 5/18. They wouldn't write that because it doesn't have a 1 on top. Instead, they'd write a 9th plus a 6th, okay? A 9th is 2/18. A 6th is 3/18. So, and 2/18 and 3/18 is 5/18. So you see that works. Okay, Lava says, I wanted to ask what would be 10 divided by 3. Well, I answered earlier in the lesson what 100 divided by 3 would be, so use that to try and work it out for yourself. Or you can do it as a division, like this, and then when you get to the end, start adding a decimal point and zeros, and see what happens as you go through that. And that will allow you to find your way to the answer. That's how you can always turn a fraction into a decimal, by doing a division. Okay, Namathan Navanethan says, can I get a shout out? It's my sister's birthday. You want a shout out on your sister's birthday? That seems like hogging the glory to me, but okay, this is your shout out, but more importantly, here's a shout out to your sister. And for your sister, not for you, happy birthday. Ah yes, it's the birthday confetti. Okay, enough of that. Let's have a look at the question. So, what can we do with this? Now, with a question like this, you're going to look at it and go, I don't know how to find the answer to that, okay? That's fine. And the thing that separates the sheep from the goats, it's going to be biblical about it, is whether, when you see a question that you can't easily solve, you just stare at it and go, ah, or whether you just think, okay, I'm going to start doing something, even though I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm going to see whether that something leads me towards an answer. So 2/3, write it as a sum of two or more different fractions. So it's not going to be thirds. Well, actually, let's play with it. Now let's start with that, okay? So 2/3 equals 1/3 plus 1/3. These are both unit fractions because they have the number 1 as a numerator, in other words, on top, numerator, denominator. However, these are not different. They are the same. So this is not the answer. Trident Gaming in the comments, Ramakrishna in the comments. So these are not the answer. So we can't do it with thirds. Okay, what's the next thing up? Let's be systematic. Always be systematic, because otherwise the thing you skip might be the thing that's got the answer in. Always be systematic until you realise from being systematic that the answer is miles away, and then you might think about skipping. Let's put it that way. Excuse me, I need to blow my nose. Itchy nose. To answer the question that someone asked earlier on, no, I don't have a cold. I did have COVID until nearly a week ago, and I'm still just got a little bit of tickliness and so on. Had the thing for 2 weeks, and then it's nearly a week later, and it's like the symptoms still completely gone away, even though I'm all negative and everything, tickly throat. Oh, it's so annoying. But annoying is fine. I know many people who've had COVID have been a lot less lucky than me, so I'm not trying to be complacent about it. I'll have to slip that in before somebody takes offence. 1/3 plus 1/3, okay, is not the answer. What's next, if we're being systematic? 1/6, right? So, what can we do with this? So we could have 3/6 and 3/6. What am I talking about? Absolute nonsense. No, I could have 2/6 and 2/6, okay? Which would simplify to 1/3 plus 1/3. So it's clearly not the answer. We'd end up with 2 identical unit fractions, which are not different. What else could I do? I could have, how else can we make 6? Apart from, sorry, what am I talking about? What on earth am I on about? 2/3 is 4/6, okay? That's what I should be saying. Let's do that. You think I've got these lessons also beautifully planned, and then you see me just start spouting rubbish. 2/3 is 4/6, and we can make that with 2/6 plus 2/6, but that is clearly not the answer. How else can I do it? How can I make 4? I can do it with 1 plus 3. 1/6 plus, 3/6, which equals 1/6 plus a half. Aha, we got 2 unit fractions. 1/6 plus 1/2. So that is our answer. Okay? If that hadn't worked, then I would have gone on to 9ths. Okay? So I'd have said 2/3 is 6/9. And then I'd have played with that. But would that have got me to the answer? No, it would not have done so. Shambhavi says, I don't understand. That is absolutely fine. It's totally normal that you might not understand something the first time I go through it. Not everybody gets the same thing at the same speed. You'll get something else much faster that someone else gets more slowly. But it's great because this is a video on YouTube. I know, it's miraculous. And that means that if you don't understand something, you can just rewind and watch what I've explained again, and then you'll get it. Main thing, first of all, start off by reading the question really thoroughly so you understand what unit fractions are and what it means to make a number by adding two unit fractions together, okay? And then we're just playing with this number. So we're saying, how can I make 2/3? Well, I can make it with 2/3, a third plus a third, nah. Or it could be 4/6. How can I make 4/6? 4/6 is 2/6 plus 2/6, no. Or it's a 6 plus 3/6, that's interesting. Okay, that's a 6 plus a half. I've got two unit fractions, I've done it. Okay, if that hadn't worked, I'd have said, okay, 2/3 is 6/9. What can I do with that? If that hadn't worked, I'd have said 2/3 is 8/12, and 10/15, and so on. But it would have taken a long time. The answer was much easier. Yeah, don't worry about it. You can. Someone else saying it takes a while to understand. It does. It's fine. Rewind the video and just rewatch. You can even on YouTube set for a slower playback speed if you want to. I think. Okay. Mr. Rossi is looking at his monthly accounts. Sorry, need to blow my nose again. Right. Mr. Rossi looking at his monthly accounts. So, 2/5 of his money was made from selling ice cream. The rest, so we're taking notes as we go, okay? Really important, helps to get your brain into the question. So the rest is 3/5, okay? We know that already, surely it's going to be relevant. Came from selling sweets and from selling fizzy drinks. He made twice as much money from selling fizzy drinks than from sweets, twice as than, that is not English. He made twice as much money from selling fizzy drinks as from sweets. Thank you very much. Sometimes you see these things in English exams. Oh, come on, I've made mistakes writing exam papers before. Let's not be hypocrites around here. He made twice as much selling from sweets. He made £330 from selling fizzy drinks. How much money did he make in total? Right. He made 330 from selling fizzy drinks. And we know that that was twice as much as from sweets. Okay, so FD, fizzy drinks, was 330. Okay. And sweets was half of that. 330 divided by 2, well, you can do a quick division over here, why not? Makes life simple, goes in once, carry 1, goes in 6 times, carry 1, 165, okay? So, this 165 is what he made from sweets, okay? Now let's have a look at how this breaks down. So, our 3/5, which is the rest of his money, is made up of, another bar here, 1/5 of it is sweets, and 2/5 of it are fizzy drinks. And 1/5 is 165. 2/5 is 330. We need to know how much you made in total. Well, if we know that 1/5 was 165, then it's easy to find the total. Because how do we get from 1/5 to the whole? We times by 5. Someone says they didn't get this question. I hope you're getting it now. But anyway, I'm going to go recap it again in a second. Don't worry. So we need to do 165 times 5. Now, if you were doing this mentally, you might go, aha, timesing by 5 is easy. Because what is the shortcut for timesing by 5? Anyone who's watched my videos knows this. You times by 10, which means adding a 0, which means 1,650. And then you half it, which is 825. But if you don't get that, and to be honest, don't use mental arithmetic in these situations unless you're really confident. Let's check it with a simple multiplication. 165 times 5, okay? So we do 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 6 is 30. We got the carried 2, so it's 32. 5 times 1 is 5, and we got carried 3, 825. That's what I said, 825. So how much money does he make in total? He makes 825 weird euro-like squiggles, otherwise known as pounds. It's what I do for pounds. You know how terrible my handwriting is. Just deal with it. Just deal with it. I'm not trying to turn pounds into euros in some kind of subversive political move. Tony Blair tried that and Gordon Brown stopped him. And I'm certainly not going to repeat such a foolish endeavour. So we got 825, controversial political comments. we've got £825 going on down here. Right. Okay, let's recap that quickly for people who didn't understand it. So 2/5 of the money was made from selling ice cream. The rest, 3/5, it must be, if the first bit was 2/5, was from selling sweets and fizzy drinks. 2/3 of that was from selling fizzy drinks. And that's £330. So so of what's left, 2/3 was £330. Half of that, 165. So what's left over is 330 and 106. I'm explaining this so badly. I'm explaining this terribly. I'm not even following what I did. No, Robert. Okay, I'm sacking myself. Bye-bye. No, I cannot do that. You're here for this lesson. I need to explain, and there's one more question to go through after this. So let's try this again. 3/5 was from selling sweets and selling fizzy drinks. That means that 2/5 was fizzy drinks and 1/5 was sweets. Okay? 330 was from fizzy drinks. That means we can work out how much was sweets. It's half of that, 165. So we've worked out that 1/5 of the total was £165. So we just need to times that by 5 and we get the total. Bam! Okay? Indeed, you can replay the video. Lots of people are saying I am wrong. Lots of people are saying that 330 divided by 2 is 115. All I can say is that, and this seems that loads of people think this, all I can say is that if you believe this to be the case, then, I don't know, either maths has changed or it's not even worth me trying. People, just think about it. 330 divided by 2. 300 divided by 2 is 150. 30 divided by 2 is 15. Add them together, people, it's 165. On no planet is it 115. And I'm saying that to Roll of Shame, Trident Gaming, Darasimi, and who else thinks it? I think it's you two. You are the culprits who are trying to change maths forever. Okay, onwards. Yeah, I make these stupid mistakes too. Don't worry, I've made plenty stupider ones. Let's all have a sip of coffee and recover. Maths ain't what it used to be. Right, okay, this is a kind of easy difficult question or a difficult easy question, because really it's actually really simple, but it just feels so complicated to play with. I was trying to think of like building a Lego Death Star, but that wouldn't really be complicated. It would just be fiddly. Just ignore me. Let's just do the maths. We don't need an analogy. Calming breath, mindfulness, in the moment. Is it too much coffee or too little? It's one of the two. It's definitely, I'm going to blame the coffee one way or the other. How many squares need to be shaded in the diagram below so that the number of shaded squared is equal to 3/5 of the number of squares which remain unshaded? Goodness me. So this is one of these questions where we just have to work through and not panic. So the number of shaded squares. So get your pencil, not your pen, or you won't be able to correct. Get a pencil, or in my case, an erasable magic electronic pen. And let's just start playing. So let's just shade some squares, okay? So I've got some shaded squares. How many squares need to be shaded so the number of shaded squares, so at the moment that's 2, right, is equal to 3/5 of the number of squares that remain unshaded. Okay, so the number of unshaded squares here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That means the total is 16, okay? Total 16, okay? Remember that? So this is 14, that's 2. So is the number of shaded squares 3/5 of the number of squares that are unshaded, which is 14. So that's a 1/7. That isn't 3/5. Okay, so this is not the answer, but by just trying out this random guess of shading 2 squares, I've managed to work out what's going on. Okay? So don't be afraid to just have a go and try some stupid number, even if it's just been plucked out of the air. What's that? Right, that's number 14. Because that can get you into understanding what's happening. And crucially, 3/5 of the number of shares which remain unshaded, not the total number of squares. No, it is 3/5 of the number of squares that remain unshaded. So we need the number of shaded squares over the number of unshaded. No, the number of shaded squares over the number of unshaded squares, and then we simplify to see whether it's 3/5. And now we know what we're doing, okay? So now we just have to try it. So let's try it, okay? So now let's try shading 1, 2. Oh, I am going to cough. You were right, whoever guessed that at the beginning. It was Ivo. I remember it was Ivo who guessed I was going to cough. Well, I've coughed. Right, so now let's try shading 3. So 3 out of, there are 16 in total, so that means there are 13 left over. 3/13 do not simplify to 3/5, okay? They can't, it's 3/13. Shade another one. 4/12. That simplifies to 1/3, which is not 3/5. And we can just keep going up like this. We can try 5/11. We can try, but to be honest, the best thing is going to be if you realise straight away that the number on top needs to divide by 3 to simplify. Number on the bottom needs to divide by 5. So you might jump straight to trying 6/10. Okay, and you could miss these ones out. 6/10 simplifies to 3/5. So if I've shaded 6 of the squares here, I've got 6 that are shaded. I've got 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that are unshaded. 6/10 simplifies to 3/5. So how many squares need to be shaded? Make sure that you actually answer the question. The answer is not 3/5. That we already know that's given to us in the question. If you wrote 3/5, that would be wrong. We need to shade 6 squares. Okay? This is a really complicated looking question, but what it boils down to is that you need to do the number of shaded squares over the number of unshaded squares and not over the total number of squares. That's all it really comes down to. You just have to work that out. And the best way to do it is by trying out a number. As I did, I shaded 2 squares and then I worked out what was going on, and that helped me get to the answer. Okay, Robert, is Mrs. Lomax called Roberta? No. No, so that would just be really, odd. I suppose it could happen. I mean, if she had been called Roberta, then, what can you do? It's not like I'd have said, no, sorry, not you, you have the wrong name. But no, she's not called Roberta. Right. I'm not going to tell you what her name is. Of course I'm not. Yeah. So Bomi says, everyone wants her to be called Roberta. No. Right, anyway, look. Oh, that's it. That's good. I've done all the questions in this worksheet. Hallelujah. So I think it's time to go on without any further ado to the very important and exciting. No, before I go to the tip of the week, let me remind you, please like, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, why on earth not? Because that way you'll get a reminder when I post more videos here. My short videos are short, so it's not like every video is a great big massive marathon like this. My video on Saturday morning is, I think, 8 minutes and something long, for example. It's very short. So my short videos are published at 9 AM on a Saturday morning. You can watch them live when they first go out. But they're pre-recorded. These videos are always these live lessons where I respond to your often bizarre comments are at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday evening. So subscribe to the channel so you find out, and click the bell icon and tell your friends about Easy 11 Plus. It's the tip of the week. Oh yes, it is. The tip of the week this week is something that I talk about a lot, but I'm not sure I've really spoken about very much in these Easy 11 Plus videos. Easy 11 Plus, Easy 11 Plus. That's the correct pronunciation, the correct stress. Let's get this right, people. This is kind of a tip for your parents actually, but some of them might be watching. One of the best things that you can do with your parents as you prepare for the 11 Plus is just sometimes to drag them in and get them, encourage them, ask them very nicely and politely, to have a go at a question alongside you. Okay, whether it's a maths question or an English question, and then compare the way that they do it. Maybe it's a short creative writing task. Maybe it's a difficult comprehension question. Maybe it's a maths problem. And as you work, look at what they're doing, cheat a little bit, maybe they'll cheat a little bit from you. And when you're done, compare your answers and see what they've done that you might learn from, but also think about what things you've done that could actually have improved your parents' answer or your parents' working, because it's quite possible that you could improve their work. You can do it with a sibling as well, an older sibling. And from doing this, you'll get some fantastic ideas for how you might do things differently and better. But you'll also sometimes, almost certainly, spot things that you are doing better than them. And that is the most fantastic confidence boost, because I think a lot of people, when they're your age, they're preparing for the 11 plus or something, they think, I will never get to the point that these magical adults get to, who know everything and are perfect at maths and English and reasoning. And then you see them actually do it, you realise they're not perfect, and that everyone is fallible, everyone is flawed, and it gives you a lot of confidence. But it's also a fantastic way to get great ideas when you've both worked on the same thing and you compare what you've done. So just sometimes, not all the time, but occasionally persuade a parent or an older brother or sister or somebody else to come and work alongside you trying the same question. Compare your answers. It's a really useful exercise. You can learn so much. That's actually how I got in to producing my 11 plus lifeline resources and my books, links in the video description, because I thought, hang on, I'm doing all this tutoring and I'm always writing answers alongside these students and comparing them. Why don't I start to produce books and resources which have the example answers in and explain how I got there? And that's kind of how the whole RSL educational thing started. And then eventually I started doing these videos. That's only last year. I started all this other stuff much longer ago. Right. Okay, yes, the questions are pouring in, so it's definitely time for your questions, obviously. It's been quite a long lesson, so I'll just take a few before I let you go. What would you recommend, itchy nose again, as a daily studying goal for the Kent test? Nothing to do with the Kent test in particular. I think that you need to work out your study goals for yourself, I'm sorry to say, because it just depends on the person. And for many people, a daily goal doesn't even make sense, because some days you're going to really get into your 11 plus work, and some days you need a complete day off and just let your brain clear, forget a little bit before you can relearn and learn things better. That's just the way that life goes. It depends on the person. Some people need to know they have, an hour a day of study. Some people respond really well to doing lots of work every day, to doing an hour and a half of 11 plus before school every day, for example. Some people, that's just too much. Their brain just kind of freezes when they work that much, and they just need short, sharp bits. They do 20 minutes a day, and that's what they can manage. Some people, as I say, don't work consistently every day. Some people do a little bit and have a break and do a little bit more. So it completely depends on you. What matters is not to find out what your great rival is doing and copy them or beat them. What matters is to work out how you learn most effectively, which means enjoying it. If you're doing more work than you can enjoy, you are probably not working effectively. Cut back, do some more fun stuff, get out and enjoy the fresh air and the sunlight, okay? Work it out for yourself, but be sensitive to how you learn most effectively. There are lots of other things that influence effective working. Like, for example, it's often really effective when you start a revision session to begin by recapping what you studied the previous day or in the previous session, just briefly. That really helps it to sink in before you then move on to something new. Little things like that you'll get the hang of. Right, what other questions? So it doesn't really matter whether it's the Kent test or any other 11 plus test. What subjects are in the QE test? Do you expect me to do your Googling for you? But seriously, people have loads of questions about their exams. You'll be amazed how many things you can just answer online by putting, if you put QE11 plus into Google, you'll find various pages telling you about it. But the best starting point is always the school's own website and the admissions section will give you this information. How can we come up with an idea in creative writing? I often use lots of time thinking one up. It's a good question, actually. Often by not thinking about it too hard, by which I mean not going, I must think of an idea, but just, so you've got the picture there, or you've got the title, just relax your mind and just think, what image pops into my head? And that can be a really good place to start. If you've got a picture prompt, for example, Sometimes, I'm giving different ideas here. I know they're contradictory because different things work for different people. With a picture prompt, I think often the best thing, don't think about the picture as a whole. Go around the picture and look for really tiny details. So for example, rather than saying, here is the face of a person who is probably about 76, instead think, what have we got here? We've got some quite deep eyelids. We've got a little spot there. Maybe that's a sign that this person is really stressed about teaching their Easy 11 Plus lesson on a Tuesday evening. So what might that stress suggest about them? And look, they're not wearing a coloured shirt, so wow, they couldn't even change for the lesson. Something dark is you get some ideas about all the dark things going on in my life. Only joking, no dark things in my life. But anyway, you find the details like that, okay? What other details? You might notice the fact that I haven't shaved to help a comment. I'm so lazy. You know I'm lazy with shaving. I've just got this like sort of couple of days stubble. It's normal. Look for details and pull something from them. And that can give you an awful lot to work with, rather than just looking at the picture as a whole. You can do that with a title. Is there a particular word in the title that's interesting that can give you a starting point? So, two things which are kind of opposite. One good way to get ideas is to just relax and let the idea just sink into your brain without too much concentration. What pops into your mind, that can be a great starting point. And the other thing is to really go into the details and see what you can find there. Just the two things to play with. How much time do you have in the 11 plus test? Asks Evelina. I'm sorry, it depends on the 11 plus test. Depends which one. There are lots of different 11 plus exams. Ivo says, do you do one-to-one tuition? I'm afraid I don't. I haven't for quite a number of years now. Darasami says, can you tell Mrs. Lomax to come so we can hear her? Can I tell her to come? I might politely ask. I'm not going to tell her. I wouldn't survive the experience. No, I think she can remain a mystery. Maybe she doesn't exist. Maybe she's just a figment of my imagination. Get Robert number 2. He's better than you, Robert. I'm not going to answer the rest of your question after that. What a rude question. Strawberry clouds. But you're a loyal listener, so are your eyes blue or brown or green? Well, why don't I just give you a close-up of my eyes? There we are. That's an answer, isn't it? That's the answer to that question. Right. Can I do a mock exam walkthrough for each 11 plus subject? I might do some exam walkthroughs. I've already got some walkthroughs of the ISEB pretest, the computer test, that are in the channel. So they might be useful for a start. Subomi, our comments aren't bizarre. I beg to differ. How to deal with stress in the 11 plus. Maybe I'll finish with this one actually, because I think it's a really important question. Oh, do you have any videos about algebra, says Saida? Come on, people. I answered a question earlier by saying use Google. I mean, when the question comes down to do you have any videos about a particular thing, how do you find the answer to that? I wonder. Go into my channel on YouTube and have a look. Yes, I do have videos about algebra. Which house was I in Christ Hospital? Well, I taught people from all houses. I was a student. I was in Thornton A. Yeah, because I was a student at Christ Hospital as well as teaching there. I know. Hello to your sister who was in Collet. Right, anyway, the question was maybe it'll be the last one, maybe it won't. How do you deal with stress? Well, the most important thing, I'm going to say something I've said so often, but it's just so important, is to realise that actually the 11 plus doesn't matter that much. That may sound extraordinary, it may undermine the whole point of this channel. But if you are somebody who is such a good student and so well motivated that you have come here to watch this lesson and learn all these things, that means that you are the kind of person who, whichever school you go to for secondary school, you are going to do really well, because you're someone who studies hard, you're self-motivated, you don't need someone telling you what to do. You are going to be a success in life, people. That applies to all of you here watching this. So you don't need to worry. So don't stress about the 11 plus, even if you just end up at your local comprehensive, even if it isn't that good a school. and it might be a fantastic school, even if it isn't that good, you're going to do fine there because you're that kind of person, because you're here. And so just don't stress, don't worry about it. Your life is not going to be changed that much, probably, by whether you pass the 11 plus. And it could be that actually the school that you didn't want to go to actually works out better for you than the one that you did. We cannot see the future. So yeah, that's the main reason not to stress. Apart from that, just work steadily. Don't worry too much. Just keep improving and just say, well, look, I'm going to turn up and can do the exam, and what will happen will happen. And beyond revising as well as you can, there's not really anything else you can do. So what's the point of stressing about things that you can't control? You can't control how other people are going to do in the test. Don't stress while you're preparing. Don't stress about your marks. Sometimes we don't improve, and then we do. And then we fall off a bit, and then we get a bit better, and then we flatline, and so on. That's what happens when we learn. So just there's no point worrying about it. It's going to happen like that anyway. A lot of this applies to life. Just don't worry about it so much. Is there anything else crucial? Are you actually 76? Yes, I am actually 76 years old. It's true. Yeah. Say it. It says, say proper questions, please. I mean, I'm answering questions that people have actually written in the comments and are actually writing. If they're not proper, blame the other viewers. Look, people, it's been fantastic to have you here. It's lovely, always lovely doing these lessons. I hope you found it useful. If you have found it useful, then please continue learning by clicking on the video that will pop up here if you're not watching live, because I'll set a video to pop up there. And if you didn't find this lesson useful, that's all the more reason to click on this video, because maybe that one will be useful instead. Please remember to subscribe to this channel and to like this video, and don't forget to tell your friends about Easy 11 Plus. I'll see you next Tuesday evening at 6 for my next Easy 11 Plus live lesson. Oh yes, I'll see you then. It's going to be on multiple choice comprehension. Bye bye.